The nebula stretched like a bleeding wound across the void, a swirl of crimson and gold that shimmered against the blackness of space. Captain Valera, Kale's starfighter, drifted slowly through the debris field, its hull scorched and battered, systems failing one by one. She could feel the hum of her ship weakening under the strain, the comforting pulse of its engines reduced to sporadic tremors. Beside her, a small figure slumped against the console, a tracking cat. Its fur, once a brilliant iridescent silver, was matted with blood and soot. Valera's heart clenched. The creature Lyra had been her companion for over a decade, her loyal partner in reconnaissance missions across the rim worlds. Lyra's sharp amber eyes now flickered weakly as she tried to rise, mewing a pitiful, broken sound. "Hold on, Lyra," Valera whispered, her voice barely audible over the groaning of the failing ship. "We're almost there. Just a little longer." The last mission had been a routine patrol along the border of contested space, a simple scouting operation to monitor rogue asteroid miners. But ambushes in this sector were as common as the stars, and Valera's squadron had been hit by an unexpected raider fleet. She had escaped with Lyra through sheer instinct and skill, weaving the starfighter through asteroid clusters until they were the only survivors. Now, their escape had brought them here to the edge of an uncharted system, where the nearest colony was hundreds of light years away, and help would not come unless someone found them. Valera's comm system had long since burned out, leaving her stranded in silence. The only sound now was the labored hiss of oxygen and the metallic creak of the starfighter as it struggled to stay together. Valera's fingers trembled over the console, scanning for life signs, any hint of a nearby ship, any chance of rescue. There was nothing but drifting wreckage and the cold void. She allowed herself a grim smile. "Just you and me, Lyra. One last flight." The tracking cat coughed, a wet, painful sound. Valera leaned closer, brushing her hand over Lyra's fur. "I won't let you die. Not today. Not like this." Lyra blinked slowly, her tail twitching weakly. The bond between them was more than companionship, was symbiosis. Lyra's acute senses guided Valera through the most treacherous regions of space, and Valera's reflexes protected them both. Now, with Lyra's strength failing, Valera knew her own chances were dimming. She remembered the stories the humans used to tell when she had studied on the Terran colonies. Humans fragile, soft, short-lived, yet they had a peculiar stubbornness, a drive that made them endure when others would give up. Valera had laughed at the tales, thinking them legend. She had not yet met a human who would survive the sectors she had navigated, and yet, somehow, it was a human who would come to their aid. The veteran's name was Daniel Marks. He had seen wars that spanned planets, conflicts where entire civilizations had been annihilated. He had retired from active duty years ago, taking refuge on a remote research station on a small, gas-rich planet. His life had become quiet, predictable, almost mundane. That is, until his sensors picked up a faint, irregular energy signature drifting near the asteroid belt outside the system. Daniel squinted at the readings, frowning. The signal was faint. Chaotic a life form, maybe two, struggling against a failing craft. Something about it felt different. Not mechanical, organic. A life in distress. He didn't hesitate. Veterans were trained to act in moments like this. He suited up, checking his personal craft before launching into the void. His ship hummed steadily as he navigated through the debris, guided by instinct and experience honed over decades. As he approached the wreckage, the source became painfully clear. A starfighter, battered and broken, floated adrift, and inside, barely clinging to life, were two beings, one humanoid, slender and scaled in hues of violet and silver, the other a small feline creature with glimmering fur and fading eyes. Daniel's chest tightened. He had faced horrors on the battlefield, seen allies fall, but this raw, desperate vulnerability struck something deeper. Without a word, he extended the magnetic grapples of his craft, securing the drifting fighter and gently bringing it alongside. Valera's vision was fading. Pain lanced through her side, and the ship shuddered violently. She felt the world tilting, the stars blurring, and then a soft, unfamiliar hum. Another ship, rescue. Her heart leaped. The hatch opened. A strong hand reached in, pulling them both into warmth. The smell of ozone, metal, and something human filled her senses. She tasted the faint tang of relief before darkness claimed her. When Valera awoke, the world was soft and warm. The sterile white of a medbay surrounded her, machines beeping in steady rhythm. Lyra lay on a biobed beside her, bandaged and breathing evenly. Valera's claws flexed instinctively, feeling the strength returning to her limbs. A human sat across from them, reviewing data on a console. He turned, eyes kind but alert. "You're awake," he said simply. "You're safe now. I'm Daniel. You can call me that." Valera's throat was dry, but she croaked, Where are we?" "Safe," Daniel repeated, smiling faintly. "Far from the debris. You were lucky. Very lucky. If I hadn't detected your signal, you wouldn't have survived the next cycle." Valera's eyes flicked to Lyra. The tracking cat blinked weakly at her, then curled slightly, reassured by the human's steady presence. Valera's heart tightened. She had been ready to accept death, to let go. And now, Thank you, she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel shrugged, his expression modest. "Don't thank me yet. You've been through a lot. You're going to need time." Over the following days, Daniel proved to be a caretaker and a teacher. He was patient, methodical, and remarkably strong qualities. Valera recognized immediately as signs of a seasoned veteran. He treated her wounds with precision, stabilized her systems, and even tended to Lyra, understanding instinctively the delicate balance between alien physiology and feline, tracking instincts. During those quiet moments, Valera observed him. She had known many humans in her life, students, diplomats, soldiers, but Daniel was different. He had a calm, resolute strength, the kind that did not rely on brute force, but on intelligence, experience, and compassion. He reminded her of the human legends she had laughed at: the stubbornness, the drive, the unwillingness to let life slip away without a fight. It was in those days that Valera realized something else. She had underestimated humans, not just their stubbornness, but their capacity for heroism, for selflessness, for courage that transcended species. Lyra's recovery was slower. She whimpered often, not from pain, but from disorientation, struggling to reconcile the warmth and security of the medbay with the chaos of space she had known all her life. Valera would stroke her fur, whispering reassurance in the soft, sibilant tones of her language, while Daniel observed quietly, never interfering but always ready. "You've got a bond with her," Daniel remarked one evening. "I've seen many companions, many pairs of life forms who trust each other, but this is rare. She trusts you enough to survive, Because you protect her, and she protects you in return. Valera nodded. We are symbiotic. She senses what I cannot, and I keep her safe. It has always been this way. Daniel studied her, his gaze calm, unjudging. You both survived for a reason, he said. Sometimes it isn't just skill or luck. Sometimes someone else has to care enough to act. That's what got you here. That's why you're alive. Weeks passed. Valera's starfighter was beyond repair, a ruin of twisted metal and scorched circuits, but Daniel had arranged for new transport. More importantly, he had arranged for something else. Trust. The alien pilot, who had flown through countless battles, who had evaded capture and death more times than she could count, found herself relying on a human's care. And she discovered something unexpected. Gratitude was not weakness. One evening, as the sun of the gas planet dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky in shades of violet and crimson, Valera stood beside the observation deck. Lyra perched on her shoulder, her tail curling round Valera's neck. Daniel joined her silently. You saved us, Valera said softly, almost to herself. Both of us. Daniel's eyes met hers, steady and unwavering. We saved each other, he corrected. You fought. She fought. I only made sure there was a chance. Valera nodded. In that moment, she understood something profound about humans. They might not be the strongest in the galaxy, but their courage and compassion could tip the balance of life and death. They could turn despair into hope, even for beings as alien and battle-hardened as herself and Lyra. Lyra purred, brushing against Valera's cheek. The sound was soft, content, alive. And for the first time in countless cycles, Valera allowed herself to hope. In the following months, Valera joined Daniel on missions of exploration and aid, their partnership evolving into a bond that transcended species and culture. Lyra, healed and more vigilant than ever, guided them through uncharted regions, her instincts sharper than any human's technology could provide. And wherever they went, the legend of the human veteran who saved an alien pilot and her tracking cat spread among the rim worlds, a testament to the resilience and heroism of humanity. For Valera Kale, the pilot who had once thought herself alone in the cold void, the galaxy had shown her a truth more enduring than any starship, even in the darkest expanse. Hope and humanity could prevail. Asterisk.